Okay, this question. Now, you may not initially spot what topic this question is on. Okay, in fact, it deliberately doesn't tell you what you're using. So you might want actually to have another look at this question after you've been through the rest of the paper and kind of seen which topics are coming up elsewhere, because this particular topic is one that often is the hardest to spot, and it's useful in an exam to be able to recognize the others and then maybe settle on this one. So maybe you'd want to do that, but if you're still watching the video, which you are, okay. So if you're still watching the video, what do we need to pick up on? We need to do our reading. So there's a hotel with 50 single rooms, 16 are on the ground floor, and there are there are full English breakfast, a continental breakfast, or no breakfast, and we've got probabilities for each of those, and this choice is independent from guest to guest, okay. And then on a particular morning, there are 16 guests. They're all on the ground floor, okay, and we want the probability that exactly 5 of these guests require a full English breakfast. Okay, there's lots of information there. So what am I trying to do? I'm actually interested in how many guests out of 16. So I'm counting the number of guests choose to have a full English breakfast. So I'm counting the number of full English breakfasts in 16 guests. So I'm counting the number of full breakfasts in a fixed number of guests, and the choice is independent from guest to guest. So that should be enough to think about what the topic is. We're going to be using a probability distribution here. There are only 2 probability distributions you learn about in S1. There's been no mention of a normal distribution, and we're counting the number of guests requiring a full breakfast in a fixed number, from a fixed number of guests, okay, and there's a particular probability of them wanting a full English breakfast, and they're independent, okay, so it's binomial, okay. We're counting the successes in n independent trials. So what you have to do is set up an appropriate binomial distribution, x as a binomial distribution, decide what n is, decide what p is, okay, and then for all of the remaining questions in the parts of this question, you're going to be finding binomial probabilities. And in every case, you want to be listing the outcomes. So for this one, we've got 16 guests, so the answer could be anything from 0 up to 16. The number that's mentioned is 5, so we do a number either side of 5. You put ticks and crosses on according to whether you want values or not, okay, and the 2 things we do, I mean, you can use normal or you can use binomial PD if you know what you're doing, but we don't need to. We can use binomial CD, and the 2 things we do with binomial CD is either we say we want to go up to all of these and then take away these, so that's if I want these 2 values and I don't want those and I don't want these, okay, or the other thing we do, if we want all of these, okay, well, we just and don't want these, we just work out this box, okay, and the other thing we do is if we don't want any of those, but we do want these, so we want some near the end, we don't want the ones at the beginning, what we do here is we have to, these are the ones we want, we have to do a box around those and take that away from 1, so I have to do a 1 minus. Okay, so it's either going to be a plain lookup, it's going to be a 1 minus, or it's going to be a big box minus a little box. But you don't know which until you've drawn the list of outcomes properly. So this is one setup. This is at most 12. Okay, and we've changed the number of guests. Okay, so that's going to be, I think, one like this. Okay, and then more than 10 but fewer than 20 require no breakfast. That's probably going to be one like this. Okay. And then, in the last one, we've now got a new number of guests. Okay, so it's still going to be binomial, but we've changed the number of guests. Okay, and it's just requiring breakfast. Okay, so if we look at the probabilities of each kind of breakfast, we could have any kind of breakfast, so we're going to need to combine those probabilities. Okay. Back here earlier in the question, this was continental breakfast only. This is no breakfast at all. So the probability of no breakfast at all is 1 minus those totaled up. Okay, so in this one, right, so we've got a value for the number of guests. Okay, and we've got the probability of requiring breakfast, and we want a mean and a standard deviation. So you use your formula book. Your formula book has got a formula for the mean. Your formula book has got a formula for the variance. So use the formula to get the variance, but then after that work out what the standard deviation is, because you know how the standard deviation relates to the variance, and you can look up all sorts of this stuff in your notes.